Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast, and I want to talk today about baby steps. See, things in life, when we want something really bad, when we work really hard for something and shoot for something, we're expecting results right away. And if we don't get those results, it's very easy to get discouraged. And so the reason why I wanted to do this is because the thought of the baby steps that you have to take to get where you want to be has been on my mind quite a bit, because just talking with people, friends of mine that are trying to make moves. Sorry if you hear the turn signal here. I'm trying to drive home real quick, but I had to at least mention this and get it out of the way while it was fresh on my mind. And, talking to friends that are unhappy with their jobs and wanting to make changes in their life and make moves to, do something that they actually like or something they care about because they're stuck in the position that they're at right now, it's very important to understand you have got to have patience. And I've talked about this a lot on the show, I know, and for those of you who listen quite regularly, I'm sure, you've heard this out of my mouth before. This is not news, but the point is, when you're in the process of actually changing something or doing something, or even if it's like a hobby or a game that you're just wanting to play or get good at, not necessarily a job or a career, but anything that you want to get good at, you have to understand that it takes time and it takes patience and it takes work being put in with very little results, very little positives coming your way the earlier on in the process you are. Because, like when I started my podcast, I knew ahead of time this was not going to be something that was going to take just a few weeks or a few months and then all of a sudden I was going to be the next Joe Rogan. I was very well aware that it takes a lot of time to establish an audience, consistent listeners. It takes time to get good at the craft, to make it entertaining, make it enjoyable for people to listen to. And listening back, if I go back and I listen to some of my early stuff, I think that the idea is still good. I think that where I was trying to go with it is still fine. I think my intentions were in the right place. It's just that the execution wasn't as good because I didn't know what I was doing. It was all new. I've spent a very good portion of my life. Anyone that knows me and knows my past knows that they'll consistently tell you that I'm a talker. So it's not a big surprise that I got into this podcasting thing. However, I'm decent at talking in group, around people, two people. It's very weird when you first start trying to talk to an empty microphone or an empty camera. When you don't have people to look at or people to level with and make eye contact with and reason with. It's a very new thing and it takes time to get used to. So I feel like early on in the process, I sucked at doing that. It's very odd to just look at a blank camera and talk like it's an audience or like you're in a group of people. But I think the more you do anything, like anything else in life, you get familiar with it, you learn new things, and you get more and more comfortable with it. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that you're awesome at it right away, or even when you get comfortable. You have to engage and build and get, work on the things that you have to be, at first you have to even acknowledge the things that you're not good at. And that's the hard part, is when you figure out, like, it's hard to critique yourself because you don't want to admit that you suck, but you have to if you want to grow and get better. And I think that that's extremely important. It doesn't mean that you don't have hope. It doesn't mean that if you acknowledge that you suck at something, that doesn't mean that you should give up and that you're always going to be awful. It means that you should really zero in on why. Try to figure out why you're not that good, why you are not, feeling very confident about your ability at whatever it is you're trying to do. And when you don't see things progress quickly, you tend to think that, a lot of people tend to think that it's not going to ever happen, that you're never going to get good at it. So why just give up now, and you might as well work on something else. But I want to let you know that that is not the right call. Nobody is phenomenal or Hall of Fame worthy within a year or so. It just doesn't happen. I mean, even people that are just naturally gifted still have to endlessly work on their craft, regardless what it is. And so I'm reminded by this because I don't play video games very often anymore, but like last night I was at a friend's house, and there's a new game that came out, and it's really goofy and silly, but it's kind of fun, and it's called Fall Down Ultimate Knockout. And it's just a goofy little game where you're a person that you try to run from. It's like an obstacle course, and you try to run from the beginning to the end of this obstacle course, and you want to be the first one. And there's like several rounds, and depending on where you place in the round, you either get eliminated after that round or you continue on to the next round, and it's just a different thing. And it's just a time killer. It's not something that is, it's not like some deep involved RPG type game or anything, a role-playing game. It's more of just a cheesy little, you got a half hour to an hour to kill, just jump in there, run around. You try to level up and then gain new outfits and things. It's really pointless, but nonetheless, it's pretty fun. And so anyway, he shows me this game last night. And so earlier on today, when I had a little bit of free time, I said, you know what, I'm going to download it real quick because it's free on PlayStation right now. So up until I think September. So if you don't download it between now and then, it'll cost later. So I was like, let me just turn it on and download it. Well, once it downloaded relatively quickly, and I was like, you know what, I got a few minutes. Let me just try it out real quick. And I'm going to tell you right now, the first 5-6 levels, or the first 5 or 6 times I tried running through, I was absolutely awful, to the point where I was like, man, am I just this bad at this game? Like, am I going to always be this terrible at it, or am I missing something, or what? And I realized, just keep going, because eventually you'll figure out something else. You'll figure out a new path, or you'll figure out the level, or you'll figure out a shortcut or something. And so I kept playing, after a few more levels of doing this, all of a sudden I go from just constantly being eliminated in the first round to the very next time I made it to the second round, then I got eliminated. The very next time I won the first race. I came in first out of 60 people, and I was like, well, that's obviously a fluke, but I'll take it because that's progress. And so anyway, even though this is absolutely an irrelevant game to our life, I think that it is very relatable to all people, in the sense that anything that you try to do, if you want to pick up a new hobby, if you see somebody doing something, you're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting, I'd like to try that. Well, you're not going to be good at it right away. There's a good chance you're going to be awful at it. And maybe you might have a little bit of talent where, it's serviceable, it's decent, by the time you're done. Maybe you want to get into painting with a twist, where you get to drink and then go paint and stuff. And I see some people, it's amazing. I see people that have no business with a paintbrush walk out of this building with a nice looking painting. And it goes to show that if you have the right tactic, or the right idea in place, or the right method, you can be a lot better even right off the start. But it also takes a little bit of knowledge in like I said, tactics, or a strategy, or depending on what what it is you're talking about. But the real point here, though, is that regardless where you start, regardless how good or bad you may be right off the start, if you ever want to be good at something or make it into something special or important to you, you have got to work at it. And it takes little baby steps. And that's why I wanted to title this about baby steps, because it sounds cliche. It sounds very, we've all heard this before. Just do baby steps, get a little bit better. And people, 9 times out of 10, especially in the world we live in today, nobody wants slow builds. Nobody wants baby steps. They want to jump right in the pool and be Michael Phelps. And that's just not going to happen. And we see a lot of people start something and then quit something very quickly, within days, weeks, months, sometimes even hours, because they don't like the fear of the rejection or the failure. And this is the point of, listen, when I was younger, I always kept hearing practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. And you're like, yeah, I don't care. I don't want to hear that. It's just the truth. The reason why you keep hearing it year after year, time after time, generation after generation, is because it's effing true. It's just the truth. Hard work does pay off. And whether you like to do it or not, this is why I always tell people to get into what you like. If you focus on what you like, then you don't care about hard work. You don't care about working very hard for very little payoff, if any at all. Because if you genuinely like doing something, you don't care about the outcome or the results. You just enjoy the process itself. I got a friend of mine who just started podcasting in the last 6 months, and for some reason he's expecting to be like making, paying his bills off of this already. And I said, dude, you're a baby. You're an infant in this game. You just started. And I like to always go back to Joe Rogan, because he's the biggest podcaster in the world. And he, at least in America, I don't know about the world, but I feel like he probably is. But he's definitely the biggest in America. And he started sometime in the early to mid 2000s. I want to say either 2003 or 2006, somewhere in there. He started a long time ago. Nobody knew who he was. People knew his name, mostly because of Fear Factor or his stand-up comedy or his martial arts or his UFC commentating. A lot of people didn't know about his podcast, and he's been doing it for at least 14 years, if not more. So at least a decade he's put in, on major platforms or something that you may know of. And the point is, he started out doing it for fun. He did it with his friends. He just liked talking. He just liked BSing on this podcast. And he didn't think he'll self-admit that he did not plan on this being his source of income. It was just something he did because he liked it. And now he's doing it full time as the biggest in the world. If you make it onto his show, that's like making it on Carson Johnny Carson back in the 70s or whatever it was now, 80s, and even 90s. I don't remember the years that he ran, but Carson was the biggest at that time. Then it became, Leno and David Letterman, guys like that. But the point is, it was such a major deal. It's like being on Ellen or Oprah. And maybe Ellen's a bad example now because of everything that's going on with her show, but you get the idea. All right. If you are on a major show, that's the one to be on. Bernie Sanders went on there. Ben Shapiro goes on there. Neil deGrasse Tyson's been on there. All these famous people that are relevant around the world, not just America, go on to his show. Elon Musk was a big one. So he didn't start at zero. He started at zero just like everybody else. He didn't start with all these subscribers and followers that he has now. He has built that up over time. And the reason why it didn't matter how long it took was because he liked it. And so this is why I always encourage people to get into what you like, because if you like what you're doing, you don't mind the grind, you don't mind the baby steps, you don't mind the slow growth. But when you are in it purely for the growth, the followers, or the money, you are bound to be depressed, because it's not going to happen 999 times out of 1,000. It's not going to happen quickly. So either you're going to get lucky and it happens quickly, and in which case, good for you. Let me be the first to congratulate you. Or it's going to happen very, very slowly, and in which you have to have patience. You have to love it. You have to love the grind. You have to love the failure. but want to get better. I'm not saying you should enjoy losing, but what I am saying is get comfortable with it, because you're going to be there a lot. And it's not that bad. It's as long as you like what you're doing. Like my podcast, it's not the biggest podcast. It's not that huge, but I love doing this. I love communicating with people and trying to help people either gain more confidence, gain happiness in some way or shape or form in life, and basically be able to hold yourself accountable but deal with failure, because there is so much evil and depression and awfulness in this world, and negativity. Negativity is the biggest. And negativity is the biggest one that keeps people from their goals, because if you dwell on your failure, you can't focus on how to get better. See, what you need to do, this is very important, I think, with anything that you do in life. Accept your failure, but don't dwell on it. Move on quickly. Accept what it is. Try to look at all the positives that come with your failure and all the negatives that came with your failure, and figure out what exactly caused this failure and how can I eliminate it next time. That's what every great athlete does when they practice their sport. If they fail at doing something, they go, okay, why exactly did I fail? What did I do to cause it? They don't say, what outside source made me do this? They go, what did I do? Accountability. What did I do to cause this failure? And what can I do to correct it? And I think that is extraordinarily important for anything that you do. If you want to start tomorrow at making just beautiful cakes, well, you're going to suck at first. You're not used to it. You're not used to holding, the frosting thing. I always forget what it's called, but you're not used to trying to draw with that thing like a pencil. Maybe you're not used to baking. Maybe you're not used to designing and shaping cakes. Maybe you're not used to layering and stacking and being creative. It doesn't matter. The more you try and the more you fail, the more you can eliminate those failures, those losses, and those bad things, so you can. It's like chipping away at a sculpture. You're chipping away all the bad things so you can get down to the masterpiece. And that's what we are. That's what we all do. The problem is when if you're not fully in, if you're not all in on this and you don't care necessarily about getting good, it's very easy to accept failure and just give up and quit. You have to genuinely like what you're doing. And it doesn't matter. Like, I know a lot of people, what's the one saying? It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that's so true, and here's why. Because you can be the most talented person on earth, but if you're not putting in a lot of effort, you're gonna get smoked like a Christmas ham. You're gonna get beat. But if you work hard and you consistently work hard at doing something over and over and over, you eventually get that quote-unquote talent to be great. It's like a muscle memory. Like Michael Jordan, when he was so good at playing basketball, there was a time where, I don't remember exactly which game it is. You can look this up. It's on YouTube, Google, wherever. And he was at the free throw line, and he looked over at a guy, closed his eyes, and then shot the ball. He didn't even look at the basket. And it went in, by the way. Spoiler alert. But he made it. It wasn't because nobody's talented enough to shoot a shot without looking. It's the muscle memory. He got so good at shooting that shot that he could close his eyes and still shoot the ball and know exactly that it's going to go in. Now, could he have missed? Of course he could have. He missed plenty of shots in his life, and he missed plenty of shots after that. It was the guts to take that shot without looking. And it was the muscle memory of just knowing that if he just felt his arms go through the same motion that he does over and over and over, many, 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 many times in his life, there was a good chance that thing was going in, whether he was looking at it or not. And that's what you need to do. You need to get to the point where you are so good at what you're doing that it's just muscle memory. You don't even have to look. Now, I don't recommend doing that if you're like an artist. I don't recommend painting or drawing with your eyes closed, but maybe you could. I don't know. Maybe you could get so good that you don't even have to look. That's actually a good idea for a TikTok or something, or a YouTube channel, to just show people you doing drawings and paintings and stuff without even looking at it. But you know how many times you have to do the same drawing or the same painting to be able to be that good? And it maybe not even the same drawing or the same painting. Maybe you're just so good at drawing what you draw or painting what you paint that you can do it with your eyes closed or just while having a conversation, while looking at somebody. I'm nowhere near that good, but maybe you are. If you care about something enough, if you like doing it enough, you can get yourself to the point where it's purely muscle memory. And that's obviously different when it comes to podcasting and having a conversation with people, but you get the idea, guys. You need to accept your failures, learn how to get better, and not give up. Hold yourself accountable. Learn to get good. Learn to accept the times that it's not. Learn to accept criticism. Listen, when I started the podcast, there's so many people that are like, oh, I listened to this and, I liked it, but, you did this. And then I was like, okay. Like, I don't take it personally. Of course, nobody likes hearing how they're not good at something. But the point is, if you want to get good, you have to do that. You have to look at, even if they're insulting, you have to at least look at it as constructive criticism. Let the failure make you better, regardless whoever it is that's saying it. Now, what I don't think you should do is listen to other people's criticisms to the point where it gets you down and lets you fail, lets you give up. Their opinions don't matter. If somebody is just being insulting and they just say you suck, man, you should just give up. Never give up because of that. That's just their opinion. They might like a lot of weird stuff and you're just not their cup of tea. So don't listen. Even if it's your best friend, your parents, your siblings, your wife, your husband, your kids, it doesn't matter who it is that says anything about what you're doing. If you like it and you want to get good, you have to accept the fact that you might suck early on. You have to accept the fact that not everyone's going to like it. You have to accept that you're going to probably catch a lot of hate, especially if you're doing something publicly. The more public it is, the more criticism you're going to hear. So it's your job to just shut that out. But it's just baby steps, guys. You have to allow yourself to slowly get better and just work at it. And then understand that it's going to take time. Nobody starts something today and in a week they're the best. Just does not happen. If you can name one thing, I'd love to hear it. Please, that's actually a good thing for people to leave in the comments or to voice message me or whatever. As a matter of fact, because I have to get going anyway, and this pretty much wraps it up. I think that you guys get the point of what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to throw down here. Work at what you want. Enjoy what it is that you want to work for. Otherwise, you're going to give up. You're going to hate it. You're going to get depressed. It's going to be negative experience. You're going to regret it. You're going to hate all the failures that come with it. So make sure it's something that you actually enjoy, that you're willing to fail at. Like that little video game I was playing earlier. Okay. The game was fun, even though I failed miserably over and over and over and over. It was still a good time. So I'll probably play it again. And I got a little bit better. I leveled up once and here we are. So it's not that it matters, but that's the point, guys. I'm now up to level 2. So that's what I'm saying. Don't worry about how to get to level 50, guys. Worry about how to get to level 2. And then when you're at level 2, worry about how to get to 3, then 4, then 5, and so on. Baby steps. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? If you want to get a hold of me through the Anchor app, you can leave me a voice message there. If you want to get a hold of me on Instagram, it's Really Rich Podcast or AJAM Ajam Rich. You can get a hold of me on Twitter at Really Rich Adam. Instagram, like I said, Really Rich Podcast. You can also get a hold of me on Snapchat, and YouTube is called Really Rich. And actually I was going to try to change it to It's Adam Rich, because that's the same as TikTok, and I'm trying to slowly get all my names changed over to It's Adam Rich. That way it's all one thing instead of having to go through this whole spiel at the end of every episode. But until then, guys, LinkedIn, Adam Rich, founder and host of Really Rich Podcast. And you can find me on, like I said, TikTok is the big one. That's where I'm at the most. And that is It's Adam Rich. No apostrophe, no space, all lowercase. It's Adam Rich. And, guys, I love you guys. And I thank you for listening. And please get a hold of me any way, shape, or form you feel that you'd like to. And let's talk. I'll talk to you soon, all right? Peace. I'm out of here.